Welcome everybody. My name is Hussam Ahmad from DigLab, where we do coaching, coursing, and certification of technology leadership in Norway mainly, but also around the world, like USA, India, and Germany, a little bit in Germany, and we are targeting the Arabic market soon. We have started advertising there, but we will target it more soon. And my guest this evening is Victoria Sher, an experienced, what shall I say, both product leader and OKR implementer and founder of OKR Consortium. She will have time to present herself and maybe tell a little bit about the OKR Consortium and what they are doing. And in connection with this webinar, we have also set up some courses that can eventually give you more in-depth experience around OKRs, both for executives, practitioners, and for coaches, agile coaches, and such things. I pasted in the chat the link to the OKR courses, which we have set up at DigLab, but also OKR Consortium delivers some workshops which we do not deliver from DigLab directly, but in collaboration with the OKR Consortium, like, for example, product strategy and how to translate strategy to OKRs and such things. Maybe Victoria will tell a little bit about that later. I, with that, open up for Victoria, and the word is yours.
Thank you, Hussam. Hi also from my side. As Hussam mentioned, I am actually co-founder, not a founder of OKR Consortium. But in parallel, actually, I'm a strategy and OKR lead at Aldi Süd, which is one of the biggest retailers, food retailers in the world. I'm working here in Germany in the headquarters, and I'm responsible there for the whole OKR setup and IT organization worldwide. So based on my experience there, before this, I was a product manager, but also Hussam mentioned in a big German companies. So I mostly have experience working for bigger enterprises. And then with OKR Consortium, we also support sometimes smaller companies. And then what also we do is, besides trainings, of course, we do the workshops, which Hussam mentioned. You are welcome to have a look at them at our website. In the end, it's all about the current stage of the organization. Either it's more, if you already have OKRs, it's more about audit. If it's you are starting, it's more about setting up the strategy. But I think it will be more clear of what I mean right now after the presentation, because this presentation, what I want to share with you today, kind of shows the journey on actually how do we come up with OKRs, why do we need them, and how to connect then other parts of organization to strategy. So when and maybe that's why I will maybe shortly start with a story. When I joined Aldi in this role, they had, and this is also my experience in my previous company, but I want just to take Aldi as an example. They had a lot of strategic documents, like PowerPoints, which were mostly confidential and not shared with anyone. And then Aldi has more than hundreds of product teams, and those teams were missing any guidance. So they were mostly acting as a delivery function of the organization, delivering features for the business units. And my role was, in the end, how to bridge this gap and how to make sure that we actually transform to a product organization. So I think, Hussam, you need to make me a meeting organizer, or you can share the presentation I sent you, because I don't have the right to share my screen.
All right, I will make you a presenter. I thought you did. Sorry for that. Now you should be able.
Yes. I can do it. Okay.
So while Victoria is uploading her presentation, as I said, if you have any questions during the presentation, just jump in. Everybody is enabled with mic and camera, and you are able just to shout out. Yes, please, Victoria.
Yeah, so I already mentioned about me that I work at Aldina and an OKR consortium, and I have, besides this, more than 10 years of experience working in product management, but mostly in enterprises like energy sector and FMCG. And my experience is what I show you today is more or less applicable to all these kinds of organization and also small organizations, but just by tweaking some parameters to the needs of the organization. The biggest challenge is usually stop creating strategy in silos and see actually how strategy can enable the business, especially if we are talking about the business with many product teams and many teams overall, where it's hard also to reach alignment between those teams. And this is where OKRs can actually help creating them. So how would I place OKRs? I would say that your organization can be conceptually split into 3 layers. Mission and vision, something for the next 5 to 10 years, the reason why your organization exists. Then you have a strategy, which is more short-term, so 1 to 3 years, depending on organizational size and maturity, is what actually is our tactics to get to our vision and mission. High-level investments, our direction, geographical markets, and so on. This is our strategy. And then execution is what are our steps to reach our strategy. So like broken down into team activities and also guided by the amount of budget and capacity we have. What can be done from the execution perspective, and in the end, we can follow our strategy and achieve vision and mission. So logically, sounds maybe simple, but of course, execution is not overall connection of all this is not that easy. This is where OKRs come into play. So now let me start then with the second level, the strategy, and what do I suggest? What do I suggest to use at this level? My experience shows that there is no one framework for strategy documentation. There are a lot of ways how different companies define their strategies, and it can be different from 100 PowerPoint slides to just one big hairy goal, you know, and they all sometimes call it strategy. So what I developed in my company is so-called strategy house, and the idea of this one is to consolidate main messages of the strategy and make it easily consumable and understandable for the teams. So what are the parts of the strategy house? First is the main objective of our strategy, or main direction of our strategy. And I have here for you example of our Aldi e-commerce offering. So the objective which Aldi had 3 years ago was to launch e-commerce offering, to make it profitable, to still be connected to our brand by providing market leading quality, value for money, and curated product range. This is our objective. Then where to place in the end set of distribution choices, products, and markets. Usually markets we chose USA and Germany, for the reasons of infrastructure available there, brand recognition, and so on. Channels are how would we reach our audience. In our case, we said we do have our brick and mortar shops, and we could use it as a platform to start to connect to our customers. And then we decided that we will launch eShop, web, mobile app, and also loyalty program to attract our customers. And then how to win is, in the end, to become profitable. It means that we need to create higher revenue, but also minimize costs. Create higher revenue, of course, means getting more customers, making them buy more products and come to our eShop more often. But lower costs means that we optimize our processes, we are efficient. And how can we do it? We can do it by utilizing what we already have, by utilizing our infrastructure, our stores, our IT solutions, and so on. And our tactic was what actually is the add-on value proposition need to build to achieve our objective, but by using the competitive advantage Aldi already has. And then the values are usually is how we operate. It's about our company. It's not what the value we provide for our customers, but inside our company. Like we are operating by global service, that we want to not just launch one e-commerce offering, but global e-commerce offering for all countries. We want to be efficient. We want to be simple. We want to act as one team with business, and we want to work sustainably. So this is one strategy house, which was shared with all the teams for e-commerce. And then we had another one, for example, for our logistics and so on. And that was already a big step into alignment to give teams understanding what actually are we doing. But obviously, this is not enough. It is very high level. It gives good direction and guides already some choices, but it's definitely not enough. So we need to talk about more tangible one-year strategy. And for this, we need OKRs. So that's why OKRs, usually you can define them on different levels. So you can have yearly OKRs, quarterly OKRs, monthly OKRs, 5-year OKRs. Depends how you want to structure it. The most classical way, you have yearly OKRs and then quarterly OKRs. So yearly OKRs is usually your top management level, and quarterly is usually team or department level. So in this case, strategy OKRs is business unit level. So e-commerce is a business unit, and we write them for 1 year. But then how to actually come up with these objectives? So in my case, there are a lot of stakeholders who have ideas and opinions on what needs to be done. Of course, there are certain people who are more responsible for this, like strategy directors or CEO, but there are a lot of ideas incoming. And what we ask them to do is we actually ask them to rate the objectives. So it's not just by collecting ideas or objectives, what do we actually want to do? Like, do we want to launch e-commerce in Germany? Do we want to launch loyalty? Do we want to launch actually more improved marketing and so on? What actually do we want to spend our money on? And for each of these objectives, we can create an assessment by, first of all, analyzing market opportunity, which is mostly about the business case. So what is our total addressable market, service addressable market? What can we achieve with it? Potential, how many customers we might get with this proposition? Do we already have certain ecosystem there? Do we have certain partners there? This market opportunity. Then growth assumption expectations. Based on all of this, can we create a certain financial prediction on how much we will earn with this objective? Then current situation, like on the market, what can currently helps us or stop us from achieving this objective? And their implications. And what are challenges and opportunities and risks that we need to take into consideration while launching this objective? And then, of course, last but not the least, we need to come up with some kind of business case, right? We already talked about financial prediction, but we also need to say, okay, actually, how much money we need to spend on this objective. And you can do it by thinking, okay, which teams are involved to launch it, how much capacity each team needs to spend on this objective, and by this you can do certain prediction of percentage of capacity overall, and therefore budget spent on this objective.
One question here, Victoria.
Yes, please.
Since we are talking about objectives, where do you put the product? We are talking only about goals, objectives, and things to achieve. Where do you map the objectives toward features and capabilities of product?
Yeah, very good question. So we are not there yet. We will get there though. So currently we are talking about where to start. So we need to start with strategy, right? Remember, I told you we're bridging this gap between strategy and execution. But to bridge this gap, you need to write the strategy. And that's what I'm currently talking about. How do you write the strategy and how do you make it in OKR format so that's actually usable for the teams. But I will go to what you're saying in the next slides. So let's maybe park it for now. And if it's not clear, then we can come back to this question. And the last part here is what do you want to achieve is the key results. So based on all of this, if we select this objective to go into the next year, how do we measure success of this objective? That would be the key results. Measurable KPIs that can be tracked regularly and that can actually connect, that can create impact on our success, on our financials and so on. And to be honest, it's a lot of analysis, so I would recommend doing it only on strategy level for a 1 year perspective, but you can think of simplifying this template and using it also on a product level for quarter perspective, because before you select any ideas or objectives, you need to validate them and see if it's actually a good idea we want to continue with. So this is what I wanted to tell you about the strategy and how to come up with. In the end, conclusion is on yearly level, you have a strategy house. The strategy house might be there for longer than just 1 year. You just can check it every year and see if it's still relevant. And then you have objectives or OKRs for 1 year created for the whole business unit. And usually there are 3 to 5 objectives with 3 to 5 key results. This is what you need to create before you start on team level. And this is very big advice from my side. Don't start with OKRs on team level if you don't have a strategy defined, at least for your business unit, if it's not for the whole company. If you just start on a team level, it will not be OKRs, because the key value of OKRs is alignment, strategic alignment, and strategic impact, creating strategic impact. And you can only do it by aligning it to strategy, and means knowing the strategy and connecting to it. So now let's go back closer to execution. We have strategy aligned, but now what the teams should do. So we have all these product teams. How should they contribute? Then the question is either you have 2 more levels maybe of OKRs, so for the department and then for the team, or just for the team level. There are pros and cons for both approaches. For what I will tell you now, it doesn't matter. So let's assume we have just 1 level afterwards, which is a quarterly level with a 3 months cycle. And the teams are responsible then for execution, and teams need to define their OKRs and connect them, align them to strategic OKRs. How do they do it? There is a certain process involved. They need to be aware of company OKRs. They need to be presented to them. They need to be clear to them. The language which you use in your company OKRs is understood. All definitions are clear, formulas are clear, and so on. Then teams go into quarterly drafting of their OKRs. So yearly OKRs, they receive as just input, but they might have some ideas themselves. Not everything they define as OKR need to come top down. They can also write something bottom up. And they cannot just take strategy OKRs, because strategy OKRs are valuable then for all the teams. They need to see what is actually their contribution. And their contribution then they write in the OKR format as well. Also, each team might have around 3 OKRs. So some are connected then to the strategy ones, and some might not be connected because they're connected to some other improvements they want to do, which are not connected to strategic goals. Then they will align them, meaning they will show it to the management and also to other teams who they need maybe for support. Maybe like product team needs support of a marketing team, right? So they need to align in advance. Will marketing team be able to plan certain activities in the next quarter? So that's why you need horizontal and vertical alignment. After alignment is done, you finalize, the team finalizes OKRs, and then it goes into quarterly process with the regular check-ins, usually bi-weekly, weekly or monthly, depending on your release cadence, how often do you release and how often do you actually calculate impacts on your KPIs. Then you go into retrospective, which is reflect and reset meeting, where you check the scoring, like how much did you achieve on key results that you defined. Also, you do retro on the process itself and also on the product learnings you achieved this, because the whole idea of OKRs, what's the difference between OKRs and features? Features tell you what to do, and your success is measured by delivering a certain feature. OKRs tell me what you need to achieve and how do you want to move the needle in the business. But we don't know exactly what needs to be done to achieve this OKR. That's why you need to do regular check-ins. That's why you need to try different epics or different features. And you need to see in the end which feature actually created certain impact and which not. That's how you move from output-driven thinking to outcome-driven thinking.
Perfect. With this, Victoria, you are saying that when we are planning the product, we don't plan the features 100%, but we plan the objectives, the outcome of the product implementation, and then we can choose different strategies to achieve that.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. There is certainly, of course, certain roadmap existing and certain plan, for sure. But in the end, success is more measured by your achievement of objectives than of features. So you might pivot your roadmap, but you should stay true to your objective, at least for the quarter.
Yeah. Also, a couple of minutes ago, you mentioned KPIs. Can you tell a little bit about how to what should I say, relate OKRs to KPIs?
Sure. KPIs are your metrics which you show the state of your business or your product, and you can track them regularly. You can track them through the years. You can have a dashboard for them, and they are very clear numbers in these KPIs. OKRs, key results. In OKR, objective and key result is a measurable part, and key result can have a KPI inside it because key results are also measurable. But OKRs clearly show us the focus. So with OKRs, we are saying this KPI is a focus for us for the next quarter. While you might have much more KPIs than these 3 overall, which you track. And key results don't have to be only KPIs. They might be there might be other kinds of key results which are not metrics. And that's why not all key results are the same as KPIs.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. So after we do the retro of the cycle, of the process, of the learnings on the product, we review also company OKRs. Did we actually achieve some part of our strategic goals? We might review or adjust our strategic goals if needed. And then, based on the learnings from the cycle, the achievements, and so on, we go into next quarter planning. And teams, again, they write their OKRs and so on. So this is a cycle of quarterly OKRs. And I already mentioned a bit that we do have OKRs, but then we start thinking what could be opportunities or epics or features, or I don't know how you call them in your organization. What could we do to actually impact this key result? How can we create an impact? And then you start creating ideas. Okay, maybe we do this this button, this functionality. Maybe we do this, launch this marketing campaign, and so on. And then you connect them to key results. Like to move this key result, we can have try these 3 different things. You can then so what you see here, it's quite small, but you can also on our site on OKR Consortium, you can it's called opportunity template. It's very standard. It's just like definition of this idea, objective of this idea, like why do we think it's a great idea, a target audience, then certain understanding of like which needs of use, like if we believe that this button will help us to improve conversion, we can say, okay, we believe that this button will improve conversion because this button gives users more clarity on, so through this button they can read the ingredients of the certain product, and this our discovery shows that this is important information to motivate user purchasing the product. That could be like the user need to explain why do we believe it's a great idea to do it. You can also define some risks, and you can also define some certain metrics to measure this idea, because maybe key result would be a bit like key result would be overall conversion, while opportunity metric would be conversion through this button. How do we see that the people who actually they clicked this button, how many of them actually then converted? So that it's more clearly connected to this particular change, and then we can really see impact of this particular change. That's why you also might define a metric on the opportunity level. And this view would be for the team, but the same could be also for the department view, like what are bigger ideas or bigger opportunities, then would be broken down into teams and so on to connect to the backlog. So this is the template I was just speaking about. Success criteria are these metrics which I just mentioned, like the KPIs for the opportunity. And then you can actually implement this template also in Jira and so on, or you can use also Epic template in Jira, but just adding some mandatory fields like success criteria and objective. So what happens next? You have OKRs, you define certain opportunities, you need to come up with a roadmap, because you need to align with other teams, you need to present a roadmap to your stakeholders. So you cannot just start with OKRs. You need to have more like technical view on this. And my proposal is to connect OKRs with opportunities, saying, okay, this is our objective, these are opportunities connected with OKRs to this key result, and we believe that this opportunity is more important than this one. You can, for example, just do effort versus impact analysis of each opportunity. And then based on this, you can put them on the roadmap. Okay, this one I think is the most important, so we start directly with it. With the next one, we start a bit later. And then the size of the opportunity is effort, right? The bigger the size, the longer the bar. And you also, if you want to, you can also prioritize your objectives. Maybe not all 3 objectives are the same importance for the next quarter, but maybe one objective is more important than the other. And then each team can do it, and then they can present it to another team for the vertical alignment. And what they can also do, they might create some OKR which is shared. So maybe marketing team and the product team, they work together on certain OKR. So it will be, you will have one row where they both work together, and opportunities will also have a shared responsibility from both teams. So that's also possible. So it depends how big is involvement of both teams. If both teams are fully involved in the opportunity, then it's shared responsibility. And if only one team is involved and the other team is more just there for consulting or just giving them some data, then it's more the dependency which they need to track in the alignment sessions.
And from what we see here, Victoria, how important is the cross-functional team setup?
So this, yes, it's a very good question, and it goes to direction what I'm just saying, right? Obviously, we do need different skills to deliver certain opportunities and overall to deliver certain products. And cross-functional teams means that does the team have all the knowledge or all the skills needed to deliver value with the product. And of course, the more cross-functional team is the better. But the question is, does it make sense to put the full resource, full marketing resource on your team? And usually the answer is no. Usually one marketing team supports several teams, but it does make sense to put, let's say, front-end and back-end developers, maybe also UX designer in one team. So it means that all these people who actually work on the product and then they can actually deliver final value to the customer through features, they work on one team and they are connected to the same OKR set. Front-end developer, product owner, back-end, testers, maybe UX designer, maybe product analysts. They are the team. And the point is they don't have their own OKRs, but they all are supporting team OKRs. And then there are certain other teams, like maybe marketing, which might be not a part of the team, but they have their own team because they have their own goals. But one of their goals is to support product teams. So for example, if you look at on the marketing funnel, where we have activation, acquisition, retention, and so on. Like for example, awareness, first step is awareness, has nothing to do with the product. It's about marketing campaigns and so on. So they can contribute to awareness OKRs completely by themselves. And then maybe acquisition, how do they get customers? It's both. It's that someone needs to come, so the customer needs to come from the advertisement to the product, but also the customer needs to stay on the product, not leave direct, not bounce. So it means product needs to do some actions to make the homepage more attractive, but also marketing team need to work on acquiring a customer. And that's why this objective on acquiring a customer, you might split between those two teams.
Perfect, thank you.
Are there any more questions so far?
As I mentioned earlier, so if you have any questions, jump in.
Okay, so and last but not the least, in the end, OKR is not a pill which saves the world. It is just the way how you connect teams and strategy, and how you connect roadmap with the metrics and so on. But you don't need to do OKRs for everything the teams do. The teams might still do a lot of other things like operations, certain small development activities, other activities like strategy, like workshops, trainings, and so on. You don't need to write OKRs for everything. Just think how much capacity team has available for strategic topics, and this is the capacity they need to then work on OKRs and then write features for an OKRs and so on. So when team will present their OKRs and their achievements, it's not everything they did, but only the things which have a big strategic impact and especially are connected to these higher level priorities. So we discussed a bit today about strategy, like that strategy and then there's OKRs still, but so there are more analysis involved in selecting the right objectives, and maybe business calculation involved. And execution is a bit more on creating a certain alignment, running through the process, vertical, horizontal discussions, and creating a roadmap which in the end translates in a backlog. And OKR, yearly and quarterly OKRs, are then the glue which sticks it together.
All right, thank you, Victoria. Anyone who has any questions? No, maybe then I can ask you one more question, Victoria.
There is one question.
There's one. All right, please.
Thank you. So thank you for a great presentation, Victoria. It's really interesting to hear how it's done at such scale as in Aldi. And I was hoping that you can maybe shed some light on that in terms of how many business units are you supporting with the process now? How many strategy houses are sort of at play at any given moment? And how do you handle prioritizations between those different strategy houses for development teams, assuming that development teams support different business units, not just one at a time, or maybe they have only one business unit to support?
Yes, so one team supports one business unit because there are very clear differentiation between purchasing processes. So they are kind of aligned with value streams. One is like purchasing, the other one is e-commerce, which is customer-facing solutions. The other one would be logistics. So, and each of them has a strategy house, and we have overarching IT strategy, which aligns to those, right? But IT strategy is usually more general, and also IT strategy sometimes serves, so at Aldi is like this, IT strategy serves general IT direction. For example, big security topics can come from IT strategy, technical topics, and they will be relevant for all business units. But business strategy is more at Aldi, is more separate by the area. So stores will think, of course, in the end, we do know what we want. We want to improve, sell more and be more efficient. And then each business unit would think, how can we help to sell more and be more efficient? And they would then think it in the form of strategy, how to then in the forms of OKRs. And then they will align with each other, and then they will compare their business cases, saying overall, which business unit in the next year needs to get more money to realize this based on the impact they overall create. And after they have this overarching top management alignment, they will have their yearly OKRs per business unit and then for the teams.
Okay, thank you. So the business units have, in practice, fixed capacity that they're working with throughout the goal period, and they're able to prioritize within that. Then when you have dependencies between the business units, assuming that happens from time to time, how do you handle that process-wise?
Exactly. So yes, they have a fixed capacity, which was assessed by the objectives and by the opportunities which their potential to there. And if there are certain dependencies, right? That's what you said. How do we handle if there are dependencies? So we start with objectives, key results, and certain opportunities per business unit. They are aligned. So there are certain already alignment in before when the budget was split between the business units, there was certain alignment. And then quarterly, based on the OKR of the teams, there is a check. So the strategy leads come together and see actually what was achieved, how can they achieve, can they not achieve, and they might reprioritize certain things. Meaning maybe the teams will concentrate more on something else than on the other, or maybe some teams will support others. So what we do have that the teams in one business unit, they support opportunity of another team, of another business unit, but they support with their capability. So it means purchasing will support e-commerce with purchasing data. They will not be just moved to e-commerce to work on the website, right?
Yeah.
But it's more like on which opportunity they support with which capability. So they have some more internal, and then they also support the other. And this overarching view prioritized by the value, by the business case of these high-level opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Anybody else who has questions or comments? Trond?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for a great presentation. Do you have any recommendation or best practice for how to start establishing OKRs in a company? Do you need to start with a management, or could you start with a product team or a department, as long as the OKRs are kind of aligned with higher level goals?
So my recommendation would be, there is a certain roadmap, and actually it's part of our OKR coach training. So there is a certain guidelines on how do you do certain OKR programs. Usually, you start with defining goals for your program. What do you want to achieve with it? Don't treat OKRs as a cargo cult. Think, why do we need OKRs? How will we measure success of our OKR program? Like, why do we actually want to do it? Then we do start with writing OKRs either for one business unit, or it depends on the size of the company. For Aldi, we started with one. If your company is like 100, 200, 300 people, you can just start with the whole company, right? You start with this part. Then you select departments where you want to launch. So you don't launch in the whole company first, but let's say you do in IT first, or marketing first, or certain teams first. And then you launch it there. So one vertical from top to bottom, go through the cycle or 2-3 cycles, learn, adapt the process, because processes are always a bit different based on your setup. And you also see how you integrate OKR process with your current processes in your organization, right? So because it should not come on top, it should be seamlessly integrated in what you do. And then you scale to other teams and business units.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? All right, so I will share my screen again with this bottle. And the question here, Victoria, is that, okay, we have some product operations must-haves, license to operate. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort. And strategy usually has a demand on consuming all your capacity in your product teams, in your IT teams. How do you balance these two things? Where do you go? Usually the business people will demand you setting everybody on board to implement new functionality without taking care of running business. How do you solve that?
Yeah. Well, of course, you could run business in different ways. So you might, it's a question, how much you actually spend on running your current business? Do you have a lot of technical debt? How much can you optimize running your business? This is the one question. But you need, like in Aldi, it's no question. You need to run the business. You cannot stop. Because you lose money if you stop. If your system is down, you lose money. So then each team, product owner is responsible to saying, okay, I need this capacity to run the business in the next quarter. So we don't do it overall. So they do the prediction for overall for budgeting, but in terms of OKR process, they say, okay, now we have a lot of technical problems, so we need actually even more time for this quarter to spend on operations. And I have only this much time left on business. And I understand that it might be not everyone will be very happy with it, but in the end, IT is responsible for running the business, right? And the only thing you can do is to say, okay, I need more budget. So it's either this is how much I have, can I get more budget? Or we need to see, maybe we decommission certain products. You need to do like a lot of things to do this, like strategic assessments of everything we do, like reprioritizing some things and so on. But in the end, to answer your question, operations comes first. We book capacity and we see what's left. And if what's left is not enough, we see if we can mitigate it somehow.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions from anybody? No. If you look at the screen, I have shared our plan for next OKR-related courses. We have set up 3 courses. These will be running in either Norwegian or English based on the attendees or registrants to the courses. This one is OKR Coach, is meant for people who are going to coach implementations of OKR programs and implementation of it. OKR Practitioner is meant as for people who are working in program execution office, for example, PMO office, or people who are working with implementation of OKRs, while OKR Executive is for the leadership team. If you are interested in these courses and register during this week, I will give you 1,000 discount in the price. 1,000 kroner, not euro. All right. So if there is any other questions.
I think there was one more question from Alena.
Alena, yes, please.
Oh, it's actually not a question. It was more a support. I really liked what you have said, Victoria, and I can relate to most of the things you talked about. So it was just from another practitioner to support your way of thinking, and it's really well presented. And I think you make the complex subjects very easy to understand. So that was just to give you a kudos and support on the advice you provided.
Thank you very much, Anna. It's very nice to hear.
Perfect. Thank you, Alena. Kjartan, still have something?
So now I almost feel bad after such positive feedback. I have a detailed question, so it wasn't another. It's always better to stop after the positive feedback, but I had a detailed question, so sorry about sort of breaking the flow of the presentation. So based on my experience, one of the biggest challenges has been finding good metrics for the development teams, and perhaps it's different for a web shop such as Aldi. Since you have very concrete customer-related metrics, but from the other business units, I'm guessing that's not always the case. Maybe you can say a little bit of how do you find good metrics for the product development teams that aligned and also help them over time deliver results that at a later stage will impact the metrics that you can actually measure.
So this is a very complex process, which I'm currently also tackling at Aldi is in the scope of product operations. And I cannot just exactly answer this question. I can answer you the process, how we are trying to tackle it. Yeah. We are identifying overall each business unit can impact certain business KPIs, right? Not each or if it can be not exactly KPIs, it can be also certain value drivers, we call them. For example, purchasing can tackle efficiency and time spent from tendering to signing a contract with a supplier. So this is a certain area they can impact. And then you can connect it to certain business KPIs, saying time spent, money spent, in the end, assortment, like how much assortment variety, like there's certain, to be honest, I'm not expert exactly on the purchasing, but you are thinking what could be this KPIs. E-commerce is always a more easy example. And I told you e-commerce is very easy because we have 3 key business metrics, which is frequency, basket size, and number of new customers. And so frequency meaning then repeats. So this is easy. Then it becomes more complex in other ones. So you define this business KPIs levels for different domains. And then what we do, we work with teams saying, okay, teams define an opportunity. And then they can think overall which business KPIs at some point they can impact. And you might also take this business KPI and you can break it down into like, okay, you have a margin as a business KPI. What is actually the formula? Like what KPIs are behind the margin? And at some point, teams will see, okay, oh, this KPI can actually impact. No, maybe not margin per se, but one part of the formula of the margin. And then how can they impact them? They can impact them with a certain product KPI, maybe lead times, maybe performance of the certain product. They can impact overall the time. And then they can see this connection. It becomes easier when they do it more often. But with with Epic, they think, okay, this could be a connection. And then I define on my level this product metric. And then I measure it after I develop Epic. And then I check if on the business level, certain impact was created. You don't do it for everything, for all the epics and all the opportunities. You think what epics actually are expensive, big, and might create a big business value and are not enablers. And then you kind of develop this muscle and you document like what KPIs actually you tried, did you create impact on them or not, and so on. And your goal is that for each department you have a certain set of business KPIs developed, and then for each team knows that I have 10-15 key product KPIs and maybe some other variations of those, what I told you, not just conversion, but conversion from specific button or something, which I can measure and then attribute it to the business KPI.
It makes sense, and very, very similar to the approach I've used in the past. I think that the challenge in my experience has been that even though you have the KPIs, the sort of 3-month time frame that you have in the OKR period works a little bit against the development teams, because it usually takes some time, even though they're agile, from ID to production, and then to be able to measure results. And then you're suddenly in the next goal period, and you tend to forget the goals of the previous periods. And I think that's one of the challenges working with OKRs, is that you have a delay in product development before you get measurable results. And for some teams, you're not directly impacting the measurable results at all. And those are the most challenging teams to work with in my experience. And if you can shed any light on how you work with teams that maybe are a bit further behind in the value chain, so they don't directly affect customer outputs, etc., and how you can find good goals for them, that would be interesting to hear a little bit about.
Yeah, so the teams, they define their quarterly OKRs, and there they don't have to, they can do something interim, so not directly customer impact, but more interim impact, like on lead times or something. This is one point I want to say. Other point is we are aware. That's why I told you don't do check-ins all the time. It very much depends how often do you release. And also it very much depends how much time you need to actually create an impact. And it might well be that either you release once in 3 months or once in 2 months, or it's more cumulative impact. And you need to have a process, and we do it as well, that you don't just check OKRs for this quarter, but you might take some OKRs with you from the last quarter and check the impact. No, you didn't do development, you just do the impact. And the difference is you need to very hard try with your teams to connect developments and quarterly API OKRs with more leading indicators. It's something which changes more often. And then that's why strategy ones and more complex analysis you do on a year one. So, and that's why the strategy ones you track much more rare, and then you want yearly perspective. And quarterly just shows you if you're going the right direction.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, if there's no more question, I will also share my LinkedIn in case you also have questions to what I said, but you need a time to digest it. And thank you very much for joining from my side and for the feedback. And also thank you, Hussam, for the invite.
You are welcome. Thank you for sharing your experiences and knowledge, and thanks to everybody for attending, and enjoy the knowledge you have got again.
Tusen tack. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good presentation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.